Why did she call you daddy? Those five innocent watching yet everything is believed about me family. He has spent years convincing myself that distance was simply part of getting older, that busy schedule, career, and modern parenting as why my son and Dagutilo rarely invite me into the life. As city, he had learned to accept fewer phone can shorter visit, and birthday celebrate with polite message instead of warm embrace. But nothing can ever prepare me for what happened at Little Lily's at birthday party on a bright Saturday afternoon in late May. The bucket of Daniel and Ashley's home looked like smithing from a magazine. While balloon flower above neatly around table, children chatted each other across the friendly cook law, and the smell of grilled hamburger to the warmth ring. Eric carrying a homemade apple pie bake. Ashley had once mentioned that Lily liked cinnamon. She thanked me with a Christmas before turning away to greet another good. It wants the rule and now to complain about, but it wants the welcoming either. That had become Ashley's specially over here. She never openly acknowledged me. She simply made me feel like some individual had wandered into a gathering by mistake. Daniel hugged me briefly, and really distracted by neighbor asking him questions about a home improvement project. He watched him look away her used when he was a teenager, Kiefer and genuine, and for a moment even better little boy Veduto once insist on holding me hand every time we crossed a street. So many times I wonder where that boy had gone. Lily was opening present beneath a map when she suddenly looked across the yard. Her bright blue eyes lit up. She dropped her down Somel had just given her, ran straight toward Daniel, wrapped both arms around his waist, and sighed with complete joy. Hey daddy, come look at this one first. Time smacked to stop. Daniel froze. Ashley smiled disappeared so quickly it was almost threatening. A crystal glass slipped from her hand onto the stone patio. It didn't shatter, but the sharp sound echoed across the yard. Conversion slowed for just a heartbeat before people awkwardly thanking as how nothing unsung had happened. Ashley rushed toward Lily with a never loud that saw the force event to stranger. Sweetheart, she whispered a little too quickly, I remember what we talked about. Lily lowered her eyes immediately. I'm sorry she murmured so clearly I almost missed it. Daniel gently rested a hand on her shoulder but never looked at me. Instead, he stayed at the ground as if to grasp every answer he couldn't say aloud. He stood there holding me empty pedis against my chest, feeling an attack had nothing to do with it. He had been intro to Lily as Ashley's young nice was friends travel Constantine for work. He had accepted that explanation BK family came in many forms, and he never wanted to question me outside. In that single moment, every forgotten conversation, every cancer visit, every failed attempt to keep me at arm's length ran itself inside me mean like piece of a poor finally finding the proper place. Ashley glanced at me with an expression I had never seen before. It wasn't annoying or empathy. It was fear. And for the first time in many years, it relieved me silence might have protect everyone except the people Veduto truly net protesting. I stayed at the party for another how BK leaving too quickly while have in the question he was not ready to answer. Ashley became unsually attentive at that awkward moment, offering me iced asking whether he needed another chair, and insisting that he take a slice of birthday home. Anion watching while have how she was being thoughtful. I noticed something different. Every king girl's was cafe perform whenever other people were looking. The moment their attention shaped Elsie, her smile disappeared like a light switch off. Daniel had spoke to me for the rest of the afternoon. Whenever our eyes met, he found another reason to look away. It reminded me of the way he behaved as a little boy after breaking a lamp with a bass-band inside the house. He had never been good at hiding you. On my drive home, the familiar dog felt strangely unfamiliar. The late afternoon sunset long shadow across quick neighbor, and I found myself playing that single word again and again. Daddy. Children rarely invented names for people. They usually repeat what they heard every day. By the time I pulled into me driveway, released hát nothing on the radio once. The silencer hát become louder than any miracle have been. My little wife Margaret me with the same peaceful silence it always had. Unlocked the front door, play the untap this besaracin, and one guitar room that had once been full of laughter. My husband, Thomas, had been gone for 6 years. It is still expected to hear his steady footsteps when the smithing trouble me. He always believed that the truth had a way of revealing itself if people were patient enough to notice the small detail. He made myself a cup of chamomile tea and sat beside the living room window where he could watch the evening settle over the mattress. As he thought about Lily, her memories lost surface. Ashley had always discovered photographs when the Lily happened to be visiting. Family gathering were often rescheduled at the last minute if he mentioned stopping by unexpectedly. Birthday were celebrated at restaurants instead of home, making conversation shorter and more controlled. He had dismissed it in sin as coincidence because he wanted to believe my family was simply busy. Looking back, those moments no longer seemed unrelated. They looked felt arrang, like piece of furniture positing to keep one particular door permanent closed. He opened the old photo album that Thomas and he had felt over decades. Daniel Circulodo's smile had never changed. The shape of his eyes, the cover of his grin, even the tiny dimple on his left cheek were unmistakable. Without realizing why, he picked the Lily's face beside his. My heart grew heavy. She said the same dimple. The same gentle blue eyes. Even the way she tilted her head while listening reminded the man of Daniel when he was at EO. He closed the album and read both hands on its worn-lit cover. He still did not know the whole story, and he referred to accuse Anion with of it. But deep inside, so many things had said forever. For the first time, he stopped asking whether he was imagining things. Instead, he began asking a different question. If Everin had worked this hard to keep me from discovering the truth, what were they so afraid that he would find? The next morning he did so many things he had not done in years. He stopped making excuses for other people. Instead of convincing myself that he had misunderstood what happened, he decided to pay attention. Thomas said to tell me that fact we always calmer than emotion, and calm people usually discover the truth first. After breakfast, he dropped to Tasman Public Library where he volunteered every Wednesday. On the way there he passed the neighbor park where Daniel had learned to ride his bicycle. Every familiar place to carry a memory that now felt incomplete. During my lunch break he checked my phone and noticed that Ashley had already posted dozens of cheerful photographs from Lily's birthday party. There were pictures of the decorating, the cake, the children playing games, and smiling family friends. He appeared in only one photograph, standing alone near the desert top with hand of me facing away from the camera. Lily was now near in any of the pictures. That was strange because he clearly remembered helping her open several zips before the great Ari. It looked as though someone had covered select imitate every meaningful moment we had shared. That evening he received an unexpected phone call from my long-time friend Helen. Veduptio had also attended the party. She casually mentioned how sweet Lily was and then paused. He almost laughed when she collected Daniel's daddy, the Helen sighed softly. She didn't say the funny thing. He remained quiet for a moment before asking whether she had noticed Ashley's return. Helen hesitated. He noticed Everin suddenly became uncomfortable. He figured there was a family story he did not know. We changed the subject up that, but her work on film something important. He had not imagined the silence that full loud. Other people had seen it too. 2 days later he stopped by Daniel's house with a basket of fresh blueberry muffins. He did not comfort because he wanted to see an ordinary afternoon instead of a cafe planet visit. Ashley answered the door looking genuinely surprised. She stepped outside before inviting me in. Acted like that Lily was taking a nap upstairs even though he could hear quick laughter coming from inside the house. As we stood on the front porch, a little girl rushed toward the handway carrying a worn stuffed rabbit. She froze when she saw me through the open doorway. Her eyes brightened with recognition, But before she could speak, Ashley gently placed a hand on her shoulder and whispered something I could not hear. Lily lowered her head and slowed one back toward Jessica without saying a single word. The exchange lasted only a few seconds, yet it revealed more than a long conversation ever could. Children did not suddenly become silent around people interested unless they had been instructed to do so. As he drove home, he remembered another detail from the birthday party. Around Lily's neck had been a delicate silver bracelet engraved with a single name. At that time he had assumed it belonged to a favorite relative. Now that name returned to me with surprising clarity. Emily. He had not heard that name in almost 10 years. Emily Carter had once worked with Daniel during the early years of his engineering career. She had been keen, intelligent, and full of quick confidence. It tightened my hands around the steering wheel as a feeling I could not settle deep inside my heart. Somehow, that forgotten name had found its way back into my life, and it was beginning to believe it held the answer to every question I had been afraid to ask. For the next several days I resisted the temptation to confront anyone. Question asked to only obtain reasonable prepared answer, and I had no interest in hearing another comforting story that explained away every strange detail. Instead, I began doing what I had always done best. I listened. I observed. I remembered. One quick Tuesday afternoon I drove to the community charity fundraiser with several local businesses had sponsored a scholarship program. Daniel's engineering company has supported the event for years, and I knew he usually attended for and how before returning to the office. I had no expectation of discovering anything important. I simply wanted to see me song in an ordinary setting with no one else me to be watching. The event was held inside the town residential center, filled with folding table covered in blue tablecloth and basket prepared for a select occasion. Parents chatted while children decorated cookies at a nearby craft station. Daniel stood near one of the sponsors displays speaking with a group of volunteers. Before I could walk over to greet him, I noticed Lily sitting quietly in a chair beside a window, coloring in a small activity book. Ashley was now her inside. A volunteer approached Lily with a clipboard and smiled warmly. Can you remind me of your last name, sweetheart? The woman asked politely. Lily answered without hesitation. Whitmore. The volunteer looked down at the relational form and frowned slightly. That is funny. Somel crocheted old Illy and wrote something different, but it will fix it. She erased a liner on the paper before reading Whitmore once again. Lily thanked her with the simple sincerity only children possess. My heart began beating faster. When Daniel noticed me, surprise crossed his face. He wandered over quickly and embraced me, but the warmth in his mind never reached his eyes. We exchanged pleasant conversation about weather, my volunteer work, and the garden behind my house. Every sentence sounded perfectly normal, yet every pause felt insularly careful. Then Lily ran toward us holding her coloring book. She stopped only a few feet away and looked at Daniel with complete trust. Before she could say anything, Ashley up from another room carrying several shopping bags. She immediately slipped between them with practice ease. The other is she said brightly, taking Lily's hand. We need to leave before traffic gets back. Lily glanced back at Daniel and asked how she wanted permission to stay longer. He simply nodded. No good behold. No upsetting no work. Only another silent exchange that made her try of repeating. After they left, he remained inside the residential center helping stack empty chairs. As if for one of the tables, an elderly volunteer met Matt struck up a casual conversation. She had known me family for decades. Lily has your son's smile, as she sighed with a gentle laugh. It is remarkable how children inherit those little episodes. He looked at her carefully. You think so? Martha smiled. Oh heck, Evelyn noticed it. I always assume people simply prefer not to mention it. She continued arranging subtly, không lẽ tên Unawa thác her simple observation had changed Evelyn. As he drove home beneath a fading orange sky, he realized he was no longer collecting scatterclue. The piece we bearing to connect on thay out. Somel behin on the cafe manner conversion and police my words are trúc thạc hát become impossible to ingo, and he knew he was floating ever to uncover it. That weekend he finally allowed me to revisit memory he had cafe locked away. Emily Carter had joined Daniel's engineering firm and moved her very. He had met her only a handful of time, but she had always been gracious, thoughtful, and remarkably keen. She remembered birthday, asked sincere questions, and never rushed through conversation the way so many young professionals met her. Then, and moreover guy, Daniel stopped mentioning her name. At that time he assumed she had accepted another position in a different city. He never imagined there was another explanation. On Monday morning he drove to the church with Thomas and he had attended for more than 30 years. He was not looking for mirrors. He was looking for perspective. After the service, Pastor Michael greeted me warmly and asked how my family was doing. He answered politely before asking whether he remembered Emily Carter. He nodded immediately. A lovely young woman, he had said. She came here several times years ago. She volunteered at the children's reading program. Me husky a bit. You know what happened to her? His personal became quick. She became seriously ill. It happened very quickly. The congregation collected means for her during those last months. He felt there and leave me alone. Was she alone? He hesitated before answering. No. Daniel visa obtained. He was Timothy and Mok Anion. Ethan get him and Wankeslaw back to me share, unable to speak. Daniel had never mentioned any of this to me. Not once. That afternoon he stopped, be the sympathy on the edge of town. He had come to visit Thomas Carlton time, yet he had never noticed a noticeable granite marker only a short distance away. Emily Carter. Red white lily red in a simple glass vase. Somel had been there recently. He stood quietly for several minutes, reading the date engraved beneath her name. She had passed away at Ely, only a few months after Lily was have been born. Me checked Titan as not a painful possibly settled into place. Before leaving, he noticed a tiny wing gem hanging from a shepherd's hook beside Heston. At I checked it was a well ribbon with face handwritten. Forever loved. The work was simple, but they carried the way up, ear of Silangray. As he returned to me Sager, he understood something he had missed from the bearing. This story was not built upon cruelty alone. Somel Bennett said she was lost. Somel Bennett said answer was fear. It neither lost nor fear as like why he had been pushed away from a little girl to discover every possible source of love. That evening he sat at me kitchen table with a notable, and wrote down every fact he knew instead of every assumption he further. Emily had known Daniel. Emily had passed away shortly after Lily was born. Daniel had visited her during her illness. Lily carried Daniel's smile, his mannerism, and now even his family name in public record. Ashley has spent years controlling every conversation that involved the two. When he finally sat down me pen, he looked at the page for a long time. The Peter was becoming painfully clear. He still not probe before speaking a single word, but deep inside he already knew that the great secret in me family had never been the existence of one little girl. It was an enormous effort Somel had made to keep her true place in our family hidden from me. The following Tuesday he made an appointment with Harold Bennett, the attorney Veductio had helped Thomas and me prepare our estate plan money yearly. Harold had officially ready, but he still made long-term client once a week from a modest office above the old courthouse. He welcomed me with the same calm smile he remembered, and listened without interruption as he described every unsung detail he had observed over the past several weeks. When he finally finished, he folded his hands together and spoke carefully. Margaret, sufficient yes understand, but decision shall always be built on fact. He know that that was exactly why he had come. He did not want revenge. He wanted the truth. Harold S. like that it Daniel had established a trust or guardiancy arrangement for a child, certain public record and legal feeling my exist, even if money detail remain private. He also reminded that Thomas had always believed financial protection for future grandchildren was one of the family's high priority. That single sentence stirred a memory he had almost forgotten. Several years before Thomas passed away, he had insisted on creating a special family education trust that could benefit any Billican grandchildren under careful defi conditions. At that time it has met like simple planning for the future. Now it suddenly carried a completely different meaning. After leaving Harold's office, he dropped total law can băng with Thomas and he had handled our finance for more than 40 years. The brand manager, Susan Miller, recognized me immediately. We exchanged polite conversation before she confirmed that the family trust remained active and professional administered. She could not discuss confidential information, and I respect those rules completely. Even so, one comment stayed with me. Your husband planned very carefully, she said warmly. He wanted every elite by grandchild to have a equal educational opportunity one day. Elite by grandchild. The face echo in me thought struggle to drive home. Susan had river nothing improper, yet her work confirmed that Thomas had anticipated a future move last time he understood. That evening he organic every note, photograph, and memory into a neat folder instead of allowing emotion to scatter meeting. He listed that bedside conversion, play bedside observation, and name bedside fact. The pattern had become impossible to ignore. Daniel was carrying an enormous burden. Ashley was controlling nearly every interaction involving Lily. And Summer when those two realities stood a little veductio discover honesty instead of careful man resilience. Let hack night me telephone rang unet pesty. Daniel's name appeared on the screen. His voice sounded tight, on the time he had ever heard it. He asked whether we could have a dinner together that week, just the two of us. Before ending the call, he paused for several long seconds. Mom, he had said quietly, it here are the things he shall have told you years ago. After the line went silent, he remained sit beside the kitchen window, looking out into the darkened beyond the matrix. He sensed that me song hát riết the point we carrying the truth had become more powerful than revealing it. He also knew that what happened next will not simply change how he saw me family. It will determine whether our family can finally bearing healing after years of silence. 2 evenings later Daniel arrived at my house carrying nothing except her way up, he had no longer high. He looked as he stood on my front porch, and for the first time in a very long while, he saw not a successful engine ever in as me but a little but reductive once came to me when I became too heavy to carry alone. We sat across from each other at the same kitchen table with Thomas, and he had said thousands of ordinary dinner. Neither of us spoke for nearly a minute. Finally Daniel took a slow breath and sighed, "Everything you said is true, Mom." He lowered his eyes before continuing. Emily had been the love of his life years before he met Ashley. They had planned to marry, but Emily became seriously ill shortly after learning she was expecting Lily. Before she passed away, she asked Daniel to promise that the daughter will grow up to be stability instead of constant reminder of loss. Daniel honored that promise as best he could. When he later married Ashley, she agreed to help raise Lily as her own, but only under one condition. She insisted that almost no one else in media house shall know Lily's true parent because she feared endless question, unwanted attention, and comparison with a woman Veductio was no longer Ali. At first Daniel believed the arrangement will protect everything, especially Lily. Instead, the secret love became a one separating our family. Ashley decided Veductio cao know the truth, Veductio cao spend time with Lily, and even how Lily shall add the Daniel in different situations. The little girl has spent eating to remember which version of her family she was pet or present depending on what happened to Benny Baby. Equally open the folder he had prepared over the previous week and play it on the tab Buenos. Inside we me handwritten note, copies of family trust document, photograph, and a simple list update. Daniel looked through the page with ground display. You figure on of this oath without anyone telling you, he had whispered. He gently shook me head. No, Daniel. Your father the good me something much more valuable than investing. Had the good me to notice when the people he loved stop acting like themselves. Tears gathered in his eyes as the of silence finally collapsed. He admitted that Ashley had gradually isolated me because she believed involving another grandparent will make it impossible to maintain the careful constancy around Lily. Daniel had convinced himself that keeping the peace was the same as protecting his daughter, but now he understood the difference. As you never has too many people who genuinely love her. She only suffers when love is hidden behind fear. The following Sunday Daniel returned with Ashley and Lily. No speech had been prepared. No dramatic confrontation took place. Ashley quietly apologized for allowing fear to become control, and for convincing herself that eluding me had been the safest choice. He accepted her apology without pretending the loss it had not mattered. Then Lily wanted to me carrying the same wounds to Fedra big he had seen before. She smiled with complete confidence and wrapped her smile arm around me. Grandma is she sighed softly, as how the work had been waiting inside her heart all along. He held her close, feeling the quickest Thomas had always hoped our family while one giây phai. Set had taken it from us, but truth was something far more valuable than the past. It gave us the chance to become a real family at last.